This month, I challenged myself to draw every single day. Well, sort of. I'll explain later. If you've been an artist online for long enough, you would know about this annual event called Inktober, which is a challenge started by Jake Parker based on the premise of making a new artwork daily for the entire month of October. What you draw daily is based on a set of prompts for each day, and a multitude of prompt lists exist for artists to follow along to with many varying themes. This year, I decided to follow one that my mutual on Instagram, Spaghettio, made called Jazztober. And in this video, I'll be sharing my experience participating in a month-long drawing challenge for the first time ever. I'll just be walking you through the entire painting process for each day, and in the end, I'll be picking my favorite and least favorite painting. I'll also be summarizing how posting every day affected my account on Instagram, as well as share some major insights this experience has given me, because I have learned a lot in this month. So yeah, let's go! The prompt for day 1 is butterfly. I wanted day 1 to be an introduction to, well, me. It needs to set the tone for my style and my expectations for this challenge, like how long I'll be spending on each painting, how rendered I want things to be, and the general way of how I approach the prompts, and I think I did kinda good in this one. It's a nice start to the challenge. I made a translucent butterfly with lots of colors and a glowy effect to it. It's simple, it fits the prompt, was done in around an hour, and most importantly, features something I don't typically do, which is the see-through material. It is still in my usual style, but I figured starting day 1 with something familiar would help me out a lot in terms of confidence, and it kinda did, honestly. I think that the success of this one made me want to follow through with the rest of the challenge and actually finish all the prompts, because the first half was definitely a little rough. Then we have day 2, which is trees. I typically don't do environments, and I was initially just gonna draw a character and add trees to the background, but of course, I wanted to challenge myself, so I did a full-on environment illustration. It's probably the first one I've done since this post from about 2 years ago. I don't know how to feel about this one. It has the characteristics of my style, but it feels a little forced, and I definitely could have used some references for this one. Still not horrible, but could have been a lot better executed in my opinion. I like the lighting though. What do you think? Day 3 had chrysanthemum as the prompt. For this one, I drew an outfit with a chrysanthemum skirt. I didn't want to just do flowers since there are 3 prompts in this list that involve something floral. I honestly don't like flowers, so I was a bit apprehensive about this day. I actually mentioned that on the caption of this Instagram post, and Jazz, Spaghettio, even commented on this post telling me she was originally just gonna make every day a flower prompt, and wow, that would have drove me insane. I'm definitely glad I took the risk of doing a figure as well, which is another thing I don't typically do a lot of. It turned out kinda cute, and although the sweater top is a bit of a questionable fashion choice, the lighting definitely saved it. Kinda like the post as well. So overall, day 3 is another good day. Day 4, your hands. I'll be honest, I'm a bit disappointed with this one since I really like drawing hands, and I think I've improved a lot in this department of illustration. It's a subject I used to struggle with a lot, and I was excited to show off the skill that I've gained in time, but I just didn't like the way it turned out. It doesn't look bad in any way, it just looked very smooth with not a lot of personality. I would prefer it to be more expressive and shape-driven in a sense, with more appealing brushstrokes as well as better color choice overall. The colors in this one are a bit much to take in, I'll say that. I just think the smoothness of everything doesn't mesh well with how prismatic the skin looked, you know? Again, not horrible, but could have been so much better with very minimal changes. Then we have day 5, Centaur. This one was very difficult since I don't do animals like at all. Sometimes I do, but yeah, very uncommon for me to do. I ended up copying a pose of a centaur drawn by Koa Viet Art. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Although it turned out better than I expected, again, the lighting helped a lot to draw away the attention from the mistakes. It could have been better executed in my opinion. I think it's also a great point in the video to remind everyone why posting every day isn't for every artist. If you're new here, hi, I'm Raven. I'm an artist who also happens to be an engineering student. The reason why I never participate in Inktober is because midterms always happen during October, and it was definitely a bit of a bold move for me to participate because I cannot fail any subjects right now. I don't have all day to dedicate to art, and I think it definitely showed in the earlier entries of this challenge. Additionally, for a lot of these paintings, I liked the way they looked right after making them, but the day after, I looked back and realized the mistakes I was blind to at the moment of painting them. Just taking these factors into consideration, it makes you realize how difficult and limiting daily posting is, as well as the many reasons as to why they are not suitable for everyone. I just felt like that was worth noting, so yeah. Day 6 is the first rest day, which means that I get to focus solely on studying. It is also why I said in the intro that I drew every day, only sort of, cause yeah. Jazztober had break days included, which I think is absolutely genius. It takes away a lot of the pressure when doing a challenge like this for the first time ever, and honestly it was kind of the reason why I joined in the first place. Then day 7 comes along. Moth. This one, I think, is a major turning point in this challenge. From the start until Centaur, I was attempting to illustrate in my typical art styles, and things have gone relatively okay, I think. That wasn't the case for this one. I had a long day of school and I just didn't have a lot of energy to dedicate to making a new painting. I also attempted to draw this one in my style, but it ended up turning really bad. This is the first entry I actually hated, so yeah. I was so close to actually just re-uploading this image instead, because there was also a moth illustration I did a while back. But yeah, I just decided that, you know what, midterms are coming, so a lot of bad days are just bound to happen, and bad entries are part of the process. Fear not though, that doesn't mean I'll just accept my fate and let every entry look horrible. I had to come up with a different plan. So day 8 comes along and the prompt is tiger. For this day, I made the choice of trying a different style. I also didn't have much time for this day and I was not about to make the same mistake as yesterday. This was the first entry where I really embraced the use of blending modes and layer styles, which really sped up the process, by the way. As you will see later on, the first stripes have this almost like outline around them, giving it a more cartoony look than what I'm used to. I really embraced the flatness of the illustration with this one and added solid shapes to represent the leaves in the environment. Compared to previous entries, this one was way more shape heavy rather than color focused in a sense. Also, I feel as if the layer management I used in this day, which was basically non-existent in previous prompts, saved me a lot of time when revising things in the end of the process. This day was great. It was a learning moment to try new things, actually use the software features, and to organize the layers. Day 9. Doll. This was the first day of midterms week, so you already know, time wasn't an abundant resource. I won't be explaining this one because I'm really curious to know if you guys get the idea behind it. Like, it fits the prompt, I swear. Like, the girls that get it, and the girls that don't. This was really fun. I wish I had more time to finish the coloring, but I still think it looks really cute. I just love my twist in this prompt. My mind is that powerful, I guess. Day 10. Bloom. This one had the shortest time of making it. It took me less than 20 minutes and it shows, unfortunately. I could have done more gradations in color in the dark areas. It just looks a little flat. But the subject still looks like a flower, so I'm not too mad at it. My goodness, I'm holding on to dear life with these lighting shapes, hoping it will make it look less basic. I was so close, honestly, to not even posting this day, but I managed to paint something quick, so yeah. It's a bit meh, so moving along. We have day 11 and the prompt is metamorphosis. Finally, another good day. For this one, I was inspired by butterflies and their process of, well, metamorphosis. Fun fact, did you know that when caterpillars are in pupation, they turn into a sludge of liquid inside the pupa right before they turn into a butterfly? I don't know why I wrote that. It's disgusting, I know, but also kind of cool. I wanted to do that concept but with a person. The idea behind this one is that this person looks almost molten on the inside to evolve into something newer. I also added some tattoo shapes and patterns to the skin to make her look a little more interesting and to really push that butterfly theme. Overall, this one ended up looking a little strange, but I still like it, so that's that. Day 12. Deer. I also didn't have time to color this day. This is another one where I had to make do with the time I was given and really shift the style to a different direction that I usually go. I was initially just gonna color this one, but I just resorted to refining the sketch and adding details to it. To speed up the process, I also used a reference, which is an image by Mike Lentz Nature Photography on Instagram. Go check them out, they're very talented, and yeah, this is what the image looked like. Next, day 13 is dissociate. I really didn't know what to do with this one, so I did what every artist does during days of drought and inspiration, if you will. I went to Pinterest and looked up art related to the term dissociate. I saw a lot of paintings of people with no faces, so I was like, you know what, let's just do that. And that I did. It looks okay-ish. Looking back, I feel like I should have done something different because 1, it was just so unoriginal. And 2, the last day had self-portrait as the prompt and I just think that a faceless portrait of myself could have been kind of perfect for me because I am a faceless artist online. I did end up doing something cool that day though, so it's fine I guess. And here is what day 13 looked like. Very simple, but kind of cool. Day 14, 4 eyes. For this one, I tried another feature in Krita which was kind of new to me. The symmetry feature has never been something I really like personally. I've always acknowledged it as an easy way to make something symmetrical, but symmetry has never been needed for my art per se. It's not something that I look for, but this time I wanted to make a face with heavy focus on exactly that, symmetry. To satisfy the prompt, I added 4 floating eyeballs in the back, kind of like those Gravity Falls journal entries, if you know. I used a very top-heavy lighting of sorts to make it look very dramatic. I find that that's a really quick way to make it seem like you put in a lot of effort to an illustration. Like, slap on a strong light source and people will think it looks semi-decent. I also just think it's a lot more difficult to make soft, diffused lighting on a portrait look more polished, so I tend to avoid that when making something very quick. Overall, an okay kind of day for me. Then day 15 has arrived and today's prompt is mermaid. I really like this one. I feel like this was when I started to get a little bit more confident and ambitious with my entries. Although it is still plain, you can see the confidence and the intention behind its look. I love the pose. I follow this reference of Juk Pubstock. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. By the way, every social media I mentioned will be linked in the description below. So yeah. I just like how clean and beautiful it turned out. The hair, the arms, the tail, the face. She just looks like she's having the stretch of her life after like sleeping for so long, you know? I started playing around with different brushes and I found this one called Sketching 2 Chrome Large. I think it's a default brush in Krita, correct me if it's not. It was so good for getting these water highlight shapes really quickly. Try it out and let me know what you think. Day 16 is the second rest day, and this is a reminder to drink water, like, comment, and subscribe. Then day 17's prompt is disintegration. Again, I also really like this one actually. The only kind of issue I have with it is that it's kind of a repeat concept. I've already done a similar concept before with the cracked face and glowing insides. I can't find the painting right now, but I swear I've already done something similar. Story time. I was also kind of tired this day and I was almost gonna just post a sketch, but I really felt like I could make this look great, so I pushed on further and really tried to finish everything, and yeah, I was right. It looks beautiful. Dark scenes have definitely been a bit of a struggle for me to paint since the start of my art journey, and I just find it difficult to balance darkness in a way that the image will still read as a low light scene but will still have clear and readable components. I think I kind of nailed it with this one. Definitely one of my favorites so far. Then we have day 18, which is Flow. Lowish was the first artist that came to my mind when reading this prompt. She is just the queen of movement in paintings, and there's just no arguing with that. So I tried channeling some of her energy with this one. I played around with different blending modes to get this weird prismatic effect on the jellyfish. It's also the first image I've done in a 16:9 aspect ratio. I thought that since I was just gonna turn this challenge into a YouTube video, why not make something horizontal, you know? Unfortunately, I don't think wide images do too well on Instagram, so this one got fewer interactions than I expected. I will say it could have been more polished, but I still like it, so I don't really care. Also, if you notice some parts of the recording in these speed paints are missing, it's because of this flickering effect. I play around with different blending modes and it tends to look a little flashy when sped up, so I turn off recording while doing that. Unfortunately, I sometimes forget to turn recording back on and just realize midway through finishing the painting. Hence, the missing footage in some speed paints. Anyways, this day was nice. I really like it. Day 19, something abstract. I was initially just gonna do my style with more abstract aspects of it, but I really wanted to lean into the prompt and do something out of the box and different. After all, that's kind of what daily drawing challenges are for in my opinion. I wrote like a lengthy dramatic caption on Instagram about how this made me realize how controlling I am of my image and how fake everything is basically. I don't know. This one was just fun and it was a nice switch of perspective from my usual work. Day 20. Moon. I hate this one. I hate it. Just gonna say it right off the bat. I hate this one. I hate this one. I hate it. And that's kind of a shock to me because it was one of the prompts I was looking forward to the most. I feel like a rainbow moon could have turned out amazing, but unfortunately, it's just one of those days where things don't go my way. I think better distribution of color in areas would have been a lot of help for this painting, as well as just removing these clouds. I don't think they did anything to elevate the image, so why keep them there? Another unfortunate day, but in challenges like this, you just can't win everything. Moving on. Day 21. I'm also not a fan of this one. I have regrets regarding the lighting and its blending mode. You will see in the later part that I basically erased the part where the light hits using these blending modes. And at the time, I thought the erase effect was really cool, but looking back, I should have stuck to the blue lighting instead. But even with that, I still think I would have not liked the end product had the lighting been different. Because the bigger problem I'm seeing here is a structural one. The sketch just didn't look great, and when you build an image from a weak foundation, everything just sort of falls apart in the end. I'm making it sound like it's the worst thing ever. It's not. It's my cat, it's my baby. And ugly is never a word I'd associate with him, but I still think a bit of refining of the sketch could have gone a long way in improving this specific entry. Next, day 22, draw Kuromi. To be honest, I didn't know who Kuromi was before this challenge. Then I found out that she's a Sanrio character and I already knew I was not gonna love this day. Nothing against Sanrio, I just don't think my style, preferences, and general habits of painting don't really mesh well with the look of Sanrio. I just decided to have fun with this one and not really take it that seriously. So what I did is I just looked up an image, drew that, and added lighting to make Kuromi almost look 3D. It didn't turn out horrible, it just seemed very out of place when you put it beside all the other entries. I think that it's because of the line art, the very thick blocky line. yeah, I don't know what to say. This is also the day where I completely forgot to record everything, which is why the footage you're seeing is just a frame by frame of the layers I used. Needless to say, it is definitely one of the lesser fortunate days of this challenge. Day 23 was the third rest day. I want to take this moment to thank Jazz Canspaghettio for these amazing prompts. I am having so much fun so far, and I am glad that I participated in your challenge. I just love her style. She's super talented and you should definitely check her out. Day 24, short comic. I was also really excited about this one, although I will say it was the most difficult to do out of all the prompts. I mean, it had like 7 images in one, so duh. The sheer number of scenes needed for my plan already elevated the difficulty and the time necessary to finish it. Thank goodness I was free this day, cause it took me 5 hours to make this. I don't know why. I mean, yeah, I do know why, but it still surprised me. This is another entry where I'm a bit meh about it, you know? I guess it's more of something I learned a lot from rather than something I look back to and think looks good. This is one of the introduction stories I wrote for Frederick, my OC, and as proud of it as I am, I will acknowledge the lack of preparation in my part to make this a successful entry. Comics are just very difficult to pull off, and I salute every comic artist out there for the amazing work that they put out. I don't understand how you guys do it. Day 25, Swan. For this one, I was a bit inspired by more abstract art. It's another day where I tried to be ambitious. I'm not sure if it paid off. It's definitely a unique look, and you know what, won't be too hard on it. Okay, fine, I hate it. Whatever. I wanted it to be very shape heavy, and shape heavy it was. Unfortunately, some risks just don't pay off as much as compared to others, and this one ended up looking not as great as previous prompt, and that's okay. Another meh kind of day. Day 26. Listen to your favorite song. I feel strange about this entry. I can acknowledge how clean the execution was for this one. However, it's also the one prompt that I had a clear vision for. I knew exactly in my head what I wanted it to look like, and unfortunately, it looks very far from it. I don't have a favorite song really. It kind of changes depending on my mood, but on this particular day, I was kind of obsessed with Change of the Rhythm by Katy Perry. I know Katy has done some questionable things that I don't necessarily agree with, but I still think that it's undeniable that her catalog is a really iconic one. For Change of the Rhythm, just the message, the songwriting, the production, all of it just kind of felt perfect for how I was feeling on the day that I made this. Yeah, like I was saying, it just didn't turn out the way I expected it to be, and that just bothers me a lot personally. Still kind of pretty though, so yeah. Next. The prompt for day 27 is to design a floral pattern. I think that this was kind of the last of the disappointing entries of the challenge, and it sucks because it could have been great. I was planning on drawing a tileable pattern, if that makes sense, like I could tile it infinitely, and coloring it and maybe putting it in a garment for a drawing or a wallpaper for a painting of a scene. Unfortunately, I ran out of time and was only able to do the line work for the pattern. Because of that, I was forced to leave it as is and post it without any color, which looked very strange in my feed, by the way. This is probably the one I'd be the most gravitated to finalize if I were to choose one of all the entries. Like, imagine how cool this would look in like a high fashion sketch for a garment or like a background of a room with dramatic lighting. Like, this is what it looked like tiled, by the way. Thankfully, the final entries ended up looking a lot better than this one. Well, except for day 28, which was when I was supposed to do anatomy. This was the only day where I felt unwell, which was a bummer because the month was nearly over and I just had to get sick for some reason. I had a really terrible headache and I was just unable to function properly. Like, I didn't even know how I made it home from school, to be honest. My vision was spinning and I felt dizzy. Unfortunately, I just had to convince myself to rest after school and move anatomy to day 30, which was supposed to be the final rest day. I didn't feel that bad for doing that because 1, I literally was not physically capable of painting, and 2, I could just swap this with the rest day, so there was no prompt that was skipped. Day 29 is Impressionism. I really like this one. I'm not even sure what counts as Impressionism. I did a bit of research and saw this common theme of fun colors with really distinct brushstrokes, I guess, generally with a lower value contrast compared to what I typically do. I don't think I did that accurate of a job at imitating Impressionist styles, to be honest, but I ended up making something I am absolutely in love with. I typically never do this crazy of a brushwork, and I think I honestly need to incorporate this in my regular style. To get this look, I used the RGBA brushes on Krita with, of course, the typical brushes like the hard edge round brush and the airbrush, just making sure to avoid blending as much as I could and leave organic strokes everywhere. Again, I am aware that this is not accurate at all with Impressionism, but I just love it so much that I don't even care. I think that day 29 is another win for us. Day 30, Anatomy, or Rest Day, whichever one you followed. For this one, I was inspired by another mutual of mine on Instagram with the username of Meowers. They recently posted this stunning animation of a face with many eyes, and I just had to do a take on a similar concept. The first three anatomy topics beginners tend to focus on are hands, eyes, and faces. At least that was the focus for me back then when I was starting out, and I wanted to pay homage to that and do an image showing off all those features with each other, with of course the added uniqueness of Meowers' animation post. I made sure to make everything look clean and very readable, and I think it's another one of my favorites so far. Wow, I am glad this month is ending correctly. I would have been very upset if the last prompts ended badly. And finally, we are at day 31, which is the self-portrait prompt. This was the one I was talking about where I felt like I missed an opportunity to do a faceless portrait like I did on day 13. However, I stumbled upon the idea of a portrait of my mascot. Lots of my favorite art YouTubers have their own characters, and I've always wanted to have one as well. So I took the opportunity to make a portrait essentially of my persona, Prism Raven. This is just the first design, so it'll get better hopefully. But yeah, it may not be as impressive as the other prompts, but it is still one of my favorites because of how excited I am for how this character will evolve with me in the next years of my art journey. Before I get into my thoughts and the things I learned, I wanna get my favorite and least favorite paintings out of the way. If I had to choose, I think the worst one is definitely Moth. It was just embarrassing to post, I'm sorry, I hate it. My favorite one on the other hand would probably be Impressionism. I know, very strange, but there's just something about it that feels so different from what I typically do but also feels kinda similar and very natural to me. I just love it. Do you agree with my picks? If not, let me know in the comments which ones you think are the best and worst entries I had. Moving on, the least liked on Instagram is the Flora pattern, which I get because it's very unfinished. The most liked on the other hand is Anatomy, which I kind of already predicted as well. I just knew even before posting it that it would do well. It is the second to last post, which meant that it had one of the shortest times to gather likes, but it's already surpassed 1,000 likes as of recording this voiceover actually. I know that's not a lot, but it's kind of rare for an account of my size typically. I did the coloring in a way that would pop out and really make the eyes visible from afar, and that's probably why it got a lot of attention on Instagram. It's a cool concept executed in a clean and intentional manner. I guess that's kind of a good segue into my learnings from this experience. First is intention. The best improvement I saw was the clarity in the intention of my paintings. Looking at the first few paintings, they looked cool, but most of them seemed a little confused in what they were trying to do. On the other hand, the final half entries, in my opinion, are a lot more clear in the direction they were intended to go in. Think anatomy, impressionism, disintegration, abstract, flow. Even the self-portrait one. Although some of the entries like Butterfly and Mermaid are arguably better visually, the way the concepts were pulled off during the later part of the month came through a lot more boldly and with a lot more conviction, in my opinion at least. Additionally, I think I speak for most people when I say that there are a lot more strong entries during the later part of the challenge compared to the first part of it. Of course, the fact that the midterms occurred on the earlier half played a part in this discrepancy. However, I can honestly say that I did feel a lot more confident as the month progressed, and I think that such was a massive part in the success of how I executed ideas during the later time. Like, even if you gave me more time during the first days, I still would have been too timid to do the prompts any justice. Finally, how did this affect my analytics on Instagram? Well, it's honestly hard to say because the month before I started, a reel of mine kind of took off on Instagram. It's currently on its way to reach 30,000 likes, which I've never experienced on Instagram before, and I feel as if this reel became a bit of an outlier that skewed the numbers, which resulted in the analytics showing that I reached more people the month before compared to now. I feel like the more accurate info can be seen on the reach comparison from 1 and 2 weeks before the end of the challenge, as they are less affected by the engagement on that reel. The previous week comparison showed a 38.8% increase in reach, while the 2-week comparison showed a 76.8% increase in the same metric. Also, Instagram's analytics are honestly very limited in what they show, so take the numbers you get with a grain of salt. And the Instagram's algorithms are, we don't talk about that. The other surprising learning I had along the way is that I started to not really care that much about engagement. Because I knew that the challenge had to go on no matter what, I really had no excuse to delete posts that don't do as well as I expected them to. Typically, when I don't reach a certain number and/or end up hating what I made the day after I post it, I just delete it. But with this challenge, I really couldn't do that because deleting something means deleting proof that I delivered on that prompt. I wanted the challenge to feel complete, and I just feel like that process of failing to reach my desired number on multiple posts and having to just move on to the next painting regardless sort of desensitized me to the disappointment of a post not doing well, which I guess is a good thing, actually. People always have conversations online regarding whether quantity or quality is more important, and I've always been a little off-put by it because in my head, why pick one when you can have both? And this challenge made me realize that, yeah, that's kind of true, and that those two are actually dependent on one another. In order to achieve quality, you need to put in the quantity. We spend so much of our time looking for the magic answer, the secret technique, the brushes, and getting upset at people who just tell us to just draw. And although my response to this school of thought is a lot more nuanced than the length of this video will allow me to elaborate, doing this challenge made me a lot more understanding of people who just give the advice to only practice. I mean, like, what else is there to do other than that anyways? If you don't practice, nothing you learn from motivational videos, art tip compilations, and artist hack TikToks will make you improve by a substantial amount. I only learned the things I put into this video, like the cool new brushes, the blending modes, the layer management, and the new approaches by practicing consistently for a month, making mistakes and evaluating them after. The learning materials are already there and you are already consuming them. The missing step is to put them into consistent practice. Because again, quality is a product of quantity, and quantity in online growth should always go with quality. Which brings us to daily posting. This is the last topic I'd like to touch on. I've noticed that posts did really well when a sequence of good, high-quality art was posted next to one another. Although I was still consistent on days where entries weren't great, the engagement just wasn't there because the art was just not appealing. Basically, I learned that it's only good to post a lot when that a lot has substance, has quality to it. Otherwise, the effect of your consistency on your performance online will be very minimally positive, if not damaging even. Again, I think it doesn't really matter that much anymore, but I just wanted to put that out in case you were curious to know about my observations or online growth is something that you care very deeply about. So, I think that about wraps it up. I don't think I'll do this challenge again next year. Yeah, maybe I will actually, but I have to make my own prompts. Let me know what you think in the comments and don't forget to subscribe and like for more. Thank you for watching and goodbye.